Welcome, brothers and sisters. My name is Eros and I am the doll maker. And with this terrifying heat, we will talk about a new seasonal festivity despite my terrible English, made worse by the temperature. But starting to speak about the festivity, I feel the first thing we need to address is the name. We find many alternatives. For example, I found many call this festivity La Mas, and these probably has Saxon origin from loaf mass. In this alteration of the name, we see the derivation of the name from a post-Christianization of the Saxons, or the resurgent pagan movement, reverse engineering the name to make it less strictly correlated to Christianity. In other instances, we find the name Lugnasa as a softer pronunciation of Lugnasad, as you see written in the title below. Probably also with the intention to link the name to Luna, the moon, or the spirit of the moon in other traditions. Either trying to indicate we are getting away from the apex of the sun that we experienced in the summer solstice, or as a reminder that despite this hot season, we are going towards the darker side of the year. The sun will gradually drown into darkness and nights will progressively be longer. But the pronunciation more rarely found is Lugnasad, a combination of the name Lugh, an ancient god that we will see in a second, and Nasad from the Gaelic, roughly translatable as assembly. All of this to say, we all love our tradition, but we can fight over the fact that actually La Mas means assembly of the bread and not mass of the bread in archaic English, or we can put aside our differences and enjoy together this amazing festivity. At the end of the day, I am a student of the magical arts, not an historian. So if you are an historian and your pronunciation is different from mine, you are probably right. But for the sake of this video and due to my respect for Lugh, I will say Lugh Nasad, hoping not to offend you too much. So, Lugh Nasad is one of the 4 fire festivals, one of the 4 fire pillars, the festivities that are not positioned in equinoxes and solstices on the wheel of the year. And as you know, takes its name from Lugh, an ancient god, protector of merchants and travelers and thieves in some traditions, according to some sources. So we can clearly see his domain on riches, prosperity, for those who are ready to go the way to find it, to travel the way to find this prosperity. And in turn, his domain over fertility, expressed best in owning and developing skills, the skills are the fertile soil in which prosperity grows. This is an harvest festival, especially of wheat, but of all sorts of grains and many other fruits of the earth. But this harvest is plentiful in proportion to the work we made to make it plentiful. Our efforts multiplied by our experience or skill, if you prefer, bringing proportional fruits. Knowing that we are harvesting, but directed to the darker season, we understand that this festivity is about gratitude, especially gratitude towards ourselves and our hard work. It's about preserving and investing the results of our work, knowing that the tide of time will not always be in our favor. This festivity is about sharing with our loved ones and with those less fortunate than us. Before celebrating this festivity, we want to imitate the wisdom of Luke, searching wisdom and caring about his community despite his prowess with his invincible spear. Sleabua, but don't quote me on the pronunciation. I'm not completely sure it's right. In some legends, Luke is invested in his community even to the point of sacrificing himself to make the soil fertile again for his community, of course. So, in this festivity, I want you to invest your time during this period, preserving your results, valorizing your skills, and if you are able to, caring about your community. Unless, of course, your community is toxic, then finding your community. To celebrate this festivity, as always, we can decorate our home, we can decorate our altar, or renovate our seasonal altar if we keep one, or even simply wear the colors of the festivity that we will see in a second. But also spend time in nature, appreciate the fields of gold ready for the harvest, fully appreciating, not looking for amazing photos for Instagram. First, feeling good, then looking cool. Jokes aside, the most important thing you can do to celebrate this festivity, even just as a symbolic gesture, is sharing bread. Of course, you can do this in the most traditional way with a feast, but if you're not able, you can simply share a sandwich with a friend. Considering this hard time in our planet that we are desperately trying to destroy for some reasons, my recommendation, if you are able to, of course, is to give an offering, even a very little one, in food supplies to the less fortunate. You can do it through a charity, some supermarkets, allow donations, or even directly by buying a sandwich for someone facing hard times. Other things we can do in this season for this festivity is harvesting our own decoration, like ears of wheat, but also collecting seeds we'll able to replant in the seasons to come, and berries of any kind. Just remember to be extremely careful of what you forage and of the summer heat. Let's start with the correspondences, as always with colors. We find again gold and red, indicative of the sun and his roaring fire in the summer season. Also orange and brown for the decay of the light, the path to a darker season. But also green as a last appreciation of nature before she hides beneath the earth, going toward winter. For the herbs, we will work with wheat, barley, oat, rye and sunflower, but also with sage, basil, meadowsweet, mint, vervain and lavender, with many other seasonal flowers, depending on where you live, of course, but mainly elderflower. For our trees, again, we are concentrating on fruit trees like cherry tree, lemon tree, orange tree, olive tree, and so on. But also hazel, ash, and as always, oak. As you can clearly see, we have a lot of correspondences in common with the previous festivity, since we are almost in the same season. The same is true for crystals, if you want to use them, of course, in which we find fire agate, citrine, carnelian, adventurine, and yellow diamonds. And of course, this is also true for kitchen magic, with carrots, cucumbers, cabbages of many types, lettuce, aubergines, bell peppers, tomatoes, celery, and courgettes, but also potatoes and any kind of flowers coming from the grains that are the main correspondences of this season and this festivity, this time of the year. We find many similarities with Litha also in our fruit selection, with apricots, watermelon, cherries, raspberries, blueberries, figs, strawberries, apples, melons, pears, peaches, grapes, and blackberries. Of course, there are many more correspondences. This is the plentiful harvest, so I'm just quoting some. For my drinks, I will go for beers, strictly correlated to the grains important in this season, or wines derived from the grapes, another correspondence of the season. If you are not into alcoholics, I will go for fruit, juices and smoothies, but you can also go for mint tea. In our tradition is very traditional it's very typical to use the use of elderberry, either in teas, in cordials, or infused in wine. Drink responsibly, or do whatever you feel like. I am a teacher, not a cop. And the fruits of the earth in this season also suggest us for our meditation to focus on our results and gratitude for our work. So I want you to enjoy the beauty of summer and the fruits of the earth granted us from our hard work. Of course, this is symbolic. You can apply this metaphor to your situation. If you are already practicing a little magic, focus your spell work in protection for the darker times to come, on settling disputes and reconciliation where you feel necessary, or strengthening bonds if you don't need any sort of reconciliation. On a different approach, you can work to protect and empower your investments, or you can even work to develop your psychic powers. Now, if you want to get deeper into the rabbit hole, I will wait for you on the next video, the intermediate one. Otherwise, as always, I deeply thank you for your kind attention, and may eternal light shine